to retire. For those of you who don't know Brian that well, again, he's been in practice of law for 27 years. He grew up in Superior, went to UW Superior and then Marquette Law School. I won't comment on that. He didn't pick the true school. But in any event, he worked his way up, really a practicing attorney. I recall when he worked in Baldwin in private practice, he would take a number of our court appointments at that time, and so his face and his expertise in the area of law were certainly recognized. He then went to the public defender's office, first I think as a staff attorney, but ultimately as the local manager for the St. Croix, Polk, Dunn, and Pierce County public defenders. And then most recently has joined the district attorney's office and was recently again appointed as a deputy district attorney under DA Carl Anderson. So Judge-elect Smestad is here. He'll take office on August 1st. He will be attending our district meeting tomorrow and getting to meet all of the colleagues in the 10th district. And we've shown him his new digs in the new part of the building here, as well as the courtroom. So we acknowledge and welcome Judge-elect Smestad to the bench. And I look forward, as do Judges Nordstrand and Waterman, to welcoming him and molding him in our image. So with that said, Judge-elect Smestad, if there's anything you'd like to say, now would be the time.
Well, just thank you, everybody.
Can you step up?
When he's done, will you go back to roll call approval of minutes?
When I was at the public defender's office, I was a voting member of the committee for a number of years, so I'm very familiar with the mission and what gets accomplished in this room. So I look forward to getting back into it. It's been a number of years, but I still recall those meetings and how much fun we used to have. So, well, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. The reason I have Heather Amos sitting next to me is because she said, Judge, you forgot some things on the agenda. So first, the roll call, I'll note that we do have a quorum and that Mr. Golly has, in essence, checked off those in attendance. The minutes from the March 13 meeting were included and circulated in your packets. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes? Hearing none, they'll stand approved as submitted. Are there any public comments? Anyone here today to make public comment? Any public comments? No public comments. The next item on the agenda, again, is a recognition. St. Croix County is blessed in many respects to have attorneys who not only are called to that profession, but really carve out what I characterize as a critical niche in the delivery of services, the delivery of advice and counsel. And the Department of Children and Families in Madison this year started a new program, a recognition program for those who are nominated, those who are then chosen to receive what is now called the Secretary's Putting Families First Award. Michelle Leshew, I think many of you know, who is one of the supervisors with the Department of Children and Families, nominated, I believe, 4 people. And St. Croix County was certainly acknowledged by the Secretary in having 2 of those people formally named as recipients of the Families First Award. Teresa Beyer and Anjali Patel were both recognized as the community partners. I believe there were 4 community partners statewide that were recognized, so St. Croix County captured 50% of those folks who were recognized. Just by brief introduction, I've known Teresa Beyer, I think, since middle school, not really, since she started practicing, and again, her tenure here pretty much, I think, mirrors my tenure on the bench. Teresa is not only an exceptional attorney, but also a very good friend. And a number of years ago, the judges decided that we would really like to identify and have a dedicated guardian ad litem program. We initially started with 4 attorneys who were interested in taking those appointments to represent the best interest primarily of kids, but also sometimes others who are less advantaged. And a few years ago, we concluded it would be more efficient as well as add to the overall benefit of the county to have one dedicated guardian ad litem. And Teresa Beyer certainly was our first choice and was willing to take on that responsibility for us. She has dedicated now her entire profession, her entire time to serving children. She still does some private guardian ad litem work in family cases where moms and dads can't decide what should happen with their kids in terms of placement or custody. But I think the majority of her time is spent in service to the courts in her work as a guardian ad litem in child protection cases. She is an expert in the field. She is someone whose advice every judge in this county listens to, and who has, again, gone above and beyond in serving children who are in need because of circumstances which they were not responsible for, but which obviously impact them in their daily lives, their family lives, their emotional, intellectual, and even physical lives. So Teresa was one of those who was recognized. Also Anjali Patel, again, has worn a few hats in her tenure here in St. Croix County, starting first as a public defender, and I think doing a fair amount of that practice as an advocate for kids in juvenile justice matters, some child protection matters, and then made a decision to temporarily get out of the practice of law and return to her home state. But her calling was back here to St. Croix County, and so she rejoined the county a few years ago, doing initially some private practice work and taking some of our court appointments, primarily to represent kids in child protection matters. Heather Amos had the insight as well as the good fortune to hire Anjali then as an assistant corporation counsel when the county board made the decision to move child protection cases out of the district attorney's office and into corporation counsel. Anjali obviously surfaced as the most qualified candidate to take on that responsibility of advocating now those cases on behalf of the county. And likewise, she has done exceptional work in a very challenging area of the law, where you're dealing with kids, dealing with parents, dealing with guardians, dealing with others who don't always understand how the system works, but easily are frustrated by some of those nuances. And so Anjali has really taken over a number of responsibilities associated with her role in Corp Counsel. And the Secretary obviously recognized that in awarding the Family First Award to both Anjali and Teresa. And I'll just read from the letter that they received. You were chosen because of your exceptional and transformational efforts to support Wisconsin's children, families, and communities in thriving. Your work has been instrumental in transitioning the child welfare system to become more family-focused, collaborative, and in-home. And they attended a luncheon hosted by the Secretary in Madison, and that, as I recall, was on April 18th. And the certificate, the plaque that they received, in essence, recognizes them for what I just indicated in their letter of recognition. So on behalf of the CJCC, the county board, the judges, and all those who work in this specialized area of the law, congratulations on your nomination. Congratulations on being selected. And this only means to me that you're with us for the next 30 years. And with that said, congratulations. Stand up. Come on up, Ms. Beyer. I know you love speaking in public.
Thank you. I I had said I'd speak today because Anjali has spoken the last 2 times we've been recognized, so I said, okay, it's my turn. It does mean a lot. I think both of us, as we had reflected, had said that this award means probably more than any legal award we could have accepted, because what it means is we are collaborating as a team in St. Croix County, and that is fantastic, and it's one of our most, I think, important goals, as both of us have kind of made that transition from the DA's office to Corp Counsel. So being recognized for that, and also the number of children that we have taken out of home and placed in home, kind of with new initiatives, new funding, and a more collaborative approach. So thank you to everyone, because all of you play a huge role in kind of supporting us in our role. So thank you.
Thank you. Now getting to the meat of the agenda, Kate Brewer is here, who's going to update us on adult treatment court. Kate.
Sure. So since January, a few updates. We've had 11 referrals, and we are up to 11 to 12 current participants. At the fourth quarter of last year, we were almost down to 6. So that's a huge amount in one quarter to gain. It looks like we should probably gain at least 4 more, which will be about our target population in the next few months here. We did receive extra funding last year from our TAD grant to go towards our in-custody assessments. That's kind of been an issue. Who can come into the jail? How do we pay for these assessments? With those extra funds, we have made huge progress in working collaboratively with our own county resources. So currently now we are using behavioral health again, and the clinical supervisor, Kayla Turpin, who used to be a past member of our team, is doing comprehensive assessments on those in-custody referrals. I have to say, after the 10 years that I have been doing this, those are some of the best assessments that I have ever seen, and they're coming from our county. So that means a lot. Those comprehensive assessments are also giving us the mental health aspect also, and not just the SUD part. We went to the state conference of treatment court professionals 2 weeks ago. Our whole team was there except for one. And the big thing that is happening this month with treatment court is that Liesl Nelson is going to be retiring from the public defender's office. She has been with our treatment court for 22 years and will now be off to her new adventure. So we are very sad to see her go, but we will have a new representative, and that will be Abriana Dolphy from the Public Defender's Office, who has been shadowing for at least 3 months now. So Liesl has put a lot of energy into making sure that her stance is still there. That's all the updates from treatment court.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions of Kate about family treatment court, about adult treatment court? Yes.
Judge, I don't have a question, but just an observation. I just saw that the Wisconsin Counties magazine just featured treatment courts in its latest issue that would have just been arriving in our mailboxes. And so it's getting a lot of attention around the state. I also noticed there was a bill just dropped in, and I can't remember who the author was or what its likelihood of passage is, but it dealt with TAD. And right now, I believe TAD funds are limited to alcohol and drug treatment issues, but they're expanding it to mental health issues if that bill were to pass. I don't know if that's a pro or a con, but I would guess maybe it's a pro, and that more money would be coming to the TAD program if it were adopted, if that huge new area of jurisdiction were added to its scope.
Thank you. And thank you to Bob Raritt and Char Lopez and whoever else have been involved in this process of getting the assessments done in the jail. And I've lost track of how many times I've heard the word collaborative today, which obviously speaks to our name, our mission, our purpose. And so all of that is just extremely encouraging in terms of the silos being torn down and all of us working towards those shared objectives. That a good segue into our TAD grant update, and Lisa Maltoff is here, who helps coordinate and write those grants and monitor. So Lisa, what can you share?
Thank you, Your Honor. From January to March for the diversion program side of the TAD grant, we had Jenna Hines, who is our diversion program case specialist, was on maternity leave. I'd say that very respectfully, Phil and Kate had talked to me about having Kayla Stesniak step in and provide a little bit of assistance to the diversion program while Jenna was out on leave. It was a great collaboration between departments, and Kayla helped the diversion program significantly with Jenna's cases while she was on maternity leave. So I have to say thank you to Kate and Phil for that assistance. It was immeasurable with her being out and us having such high caseloads. So thank you for that. And otherwise, the Q1 reports for progress reports and the financial reports were submitted just recently in the past 2 weeks. We also had in January, we hired Carrie Price to do the data entry specialist position for the diversion program, and then Tara Evavold will be, is now with treatment court full-time. Well, 24 hours a week with treatment court, and then Carrie is 24 hours a week with diversion. Both of these positions provide treatment court and diversion with data entry, core entry into the DOJ system, which is what provides them with all the data and information for them to make their executive summaries every 5 years, which their executive summary from 2019 to 2024 was just released. So if anybody is interested in that, it's extensive. It provides lots of information in regards to percentages and statistics and how well the TAD program is running. I believe Phil, Kate, and I all have copies of that if anyone is interested. Other than that, the position, the data position was shared between the two programs 12 hours per week prior to being able to get extra funding for the second position. So it's been extremely helpful for both programs to have, both have 24 hours per week. So that is going very well. And then with the diversion program also, we have funds for the alcohol and drug abuse assessments, so they can be done for diversion participants who are in need for that assistance, as well as treatment court individuals. So we have some ability to help out some of the clients who are indigent or cannot afford to pay for that on their own.
Thank you. Any questions of Lisa about the diversion TAD grant? As you might expect, those data entry positions are what I would maybe call a necessary evil, meaning they take a lot of time, but they're necessary if you want funding. And the state requires that level of detail. And so while it is a lot of work, it does have that ultimate benefit in terms of our securing those funds. So thanks, Lisa, for all you do, not only to support diversion, but again, to assist with those grants. Next is Family Treatment Court. Bob Raritt, I think, will speak to it. Judge Waterman may have some comments, but with that said, Bob.
Thank you, Judge. I asked Jessica Dodge, our Children's Services Supervisor, to help me with some talking points. She's more familiar with the details of what's going on. So if I get anything wrong, there are others here that can correct me. So I'm just going to read her talking points real quick and then see what comments we have. But currently we're in the planning and implementation phase of this effort. For training and conferences, a multidisciplinary team representing HHS, legal, justice support, and the judicial system attended the State Family Treatment Court Seminar for Planning and Training. 3 representatives, a guardian ad litem, and 2 Family Treatment Court child protection workers will attend the National Treatment Court Conference in Florida this month. Seems like something an HHS director should probably go to as well, but I don't see my name. The program launch timeline, January 2026, is a goal that's been discussed, and the state conference, pending finalization of planning elements and further discussion with stakeholders. The program structure and staffing, program oversight and grant management will be led by Children's Services, Jessica Dodge. A program coordinator will be contracted from Children's Services to Justice Support Services. Existing treatment court coordinator, Kate. So Kate will be plenty busy, I think. And Kate will maintain and coordinate responsibilities for both family and adult treatment court programs. Implementation will be a joint effort between Children's Services and Justice Support Services with engagement from broader stakeholder and community partners. 2 Children's Services CPS caseworkers are being trained to manage FTC, Family Treatment Court cases, upon launch while continuing to maintain their current CPS caseloads. Policy and procedure manuals are in development. Program oversight structure is being established, including a steering committee and broader oversight committee. And the next steps, we hope to confirm which judge will preside over the Family Treatment Court and develop a court calendar We're exploring case management technology systems to monitor participant progress and outcomes, including some we already utilize, and we'll need to complete memorandums of understanding, contracts, and confidentiality agreements, and provide training in child protection and principles to the Family Treatment Court coordinator. That's what Jessica provided, so again, if we got anything wrong, I apologize.
Thank you. Judge Waterman, I know, went to the treatment court programming that the state puts on. I think Kate Brewer was there. There may have been others, but I know Judge Waterman has, I think, some thoughts about this project.
I would just take a step back. I think the idea of a family treatment court is similar to an adult treatment court, providing structure, support, and access to services for people who need it, except where the treatment court works with an individual, family treatment court will work with the family, primarily mother and father, but there could be an extended family involved as well. And we anticipate that most of the population will be your higher risk, people who need a lot of intervention, primarily with drug or alcohol services, but could also involve mental health services, or it could involve something as simple as basic parenting skills. But the idea is to take these families who are involved in the child protection system, give them structure, give them support, give them access to services to remove whatever dangers are happening inside that family that cause the removal of the child or the involvement of the child protection system. So that's the main objective, and I am really encouraged by the work that's gone into it so far. And we've identified mid-January as our start date. Hopefully we'll be able to put it all together and be operational by then.
Thank you. Kate, anything you want to add as the newly named coordinator of this effort? Okay, she's getting a nod of the head no. But as Judge Waterman said, this is, again, an initiative that the genesis came from Jessica Dodge, I think, primarily, and her efforts to enlist all the various stakeholders in this particular project. I think overall oversight, I think at least we're anticipating will be by this body, and specifically the subcommittee of child welfare that this body likewise supports. So we'll look forward to the ongoing development of that and the reports. I'm sure that'll be forthcoming before we launch, it sounds like in mid-January. We're also pleased today to have Joanne Friedel with us. Again, Joanne has worn a number of hats, at least in my experience here in the justice system. Her current role is as adult protective services educator, and she's going to talk to us about Abuse Later in Life grant.
Well, and I was going to start out by also noting that with all the discussion about retirement, I retired in 2011. And, or, wait, no, 2021. Jeez Louise. And I just wanted to note that some of us keep coming back. Yeah, I'm not very good at retirement, apparently. So, so what I want to talk to you about is the Department of Justice Office on Violence Against Women, Abuse in Later Life Grant. This grant was awarded to St. Croix County in October of 2024. Consultation and technical support for St. Croix County and the other grantees, there are, I think, 9 across the nation, is provided by the National Clearinghouse for Abuse in Later Life. This grant is the result of a partnership between St. Croix County Behavioral Health, the Sheriff's Office, District Attorney's Office, Court, and Turning Point for Victims of Domestic and Sexual Violence. It reflects a comprehensive approach to addressing abuse in later life, including domestic abuse, dating violence, sexual assault, neglect, and exploitation committed by known abusers against victims who are age 50 and older. The grant has 3 primary focuses, which leads to the fact that it's a comprehensive approach. The first one is to increase and strengthen training for law enforcement, prosecutors, and the court, as well as provide training for victim service organizations, government agencies, and nonprofit agencies. Our first training team next week is going to be going to St. Louis for a 3-day training of trainers to learn the Department of Justice curriculum. Those trainers are 2 members of the Sheriff's Office, 2 members of the District Attorney's Office, a person from Adult Protection, and a person from Turning Point, and me. What we'll be doing is learning the curriculum, and then over the course of years 2 through 4 of the grant, we'll be providing training here in St. Croix County for offering it for all of the local law enforcement agencies. At the end of June, a second training team will be going back to St. Louis, and they will be members of Adult Protection, Turning Point, the ADRC, and Victim Witness, and we will be trained, and me, we will be trained on again, a Department of Justice curriculum for cross-training. And then we will be coming back years 2 through 4, and we will be training members or staff of government agencies, nonprofit agencies, and members of the ministeriums are going to be invited. And again, the focus is on the investigation and response to abuse in later life and elder abuse. In addition, so it's like the training piece alone is for this grant is actually really huge. In addition, there will also be an enhanced law enforcement training that will be provided here by national facilitators from the National Clearinghouse for Abuse in Later Life. In addition, there are trainings that are being offered to our prosecutors and to our court during the course of the 4-year grant, and they are also funded under the grant. So that's just like part 1. Part 2 is the requirement to provide or enhance services for older victims through data provided by professional service providers and by community members. The purpose of this is to identify from the community what areas they believe need to be improved to assist victims of elder abuse. So we distributed professional surveys to clinics and to hospice providers, to the religious community, to protective services and mental health staff, in order to get their feedback. And we've been able to get, I think, over 70 responses in that category. A separate survey was also distributed to older members of St. Croix County, St. Croix County community. So from senior centers and Meals on Wheels participants, those kinds of populations were approached, and we also got over 70 completed surveys from them. So at this point in time, what we're doing is we're compiling that information, getting our data collected, and then once we have determined what the community is telling us that we need to do in order to improve our services, we'll be submitting what's called an outreach and services strategic plan that will have to go through and be accepted by the grant, and which includes a budget and a description of what exactly we're going to provide. And then that too will be put in place and provided during years 2 through 4 of the grant. So then, the third part and the other focus for the grant is what's called a multidisciplinary community response to older victims team. They're somewhat known as CCRs, and they're often used in the domestic abuse field. Members of CCR teams are from service agencies to provide a method of reviewing their policies and procedures and making changes to improve their ability to communicate with one another to respond to incidences of elder abuse. So it'll be members of law enforcement, it'll be members of service agencies who will be meeting together on a regular basis to be able to try to figure out how they can better communicate and talk with one another about incidences and their responses. So on August 20th, facilitators from the National Clearinghouse are going to be coming here, and they're going to be hosting what they call a CCR team kickoff event in the morning, and that'll be a large group event where they'll talk about, the benefits of having the CCR team. And then in the afternoon, we'll as a small group, the core CCR team will meet and begin the process of, figuring out how best to be able to work together to improve the services that we have. So if any of you have any interest in being a part of the large group CCR kickoff on August 20th, or if you think that you would like to be a part of the core CCR team, please let me know or let Shar know. I'm leaving business cards with Shar so that she can give them out if you want to either call me or send emails. And I'll be happy to talk more about and in more detail about the CCR or about the grant.
And I just want to acknowledge that this project would never be what it is without Joanne. She, like she said, she retired many years ago, and she has shared her gift with us continuously, and we're blessed to have her because this couldn't have happened with just somebody off the street. She took her knowledge and her skills and her connection to all of you and everyone in this community. So I'm very excited about having her on board.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions of Joanne or Shar? We look forward to the updates, and St. Louis in June. Good luck. Next is the court navigation update, and I think Phil's going to fill us in on that.
Thank you, Judge. Just very briefly, we are, I think, 3 months into our court navigation work during criminal intake. So we've talked about this. This is Shelby Hilden's project. So again, we have somebody present from Justice Support during and really right before criminal intake starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon to start talking with defendants as far as have they called the public defender's office, have they, you know, if they've qualified, if they haven't qualified, have they reached out or started that paperwork for a court-appointed attorney. And so that's some of the role that we've played, working with court services on that. We continue to gather data on what that looks like. I think kind of the next phase we've entered into is possibly partnering with child support and what that might look like. So Lisa, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but if you want to step up and say anything, by all means. I think maybe we'll have some updates hopefully in the next couple months about what that partnership might look like. But we're really encouraged with the feedback we've received so far. We appreciate everybody's, I'll just borrow the word of the day, collaborative efforts here. It's been really nice, and I think we've really helped some people navigate what our system looks like, people that are unfamiliar with it, that are nervous, they're scared, kind of helping bring the temperature down a little bit before they step into intake.
Thank you. And I'll at least share, I had my first exposure to court navigators during my recent intake, and it was really helpful. We can put up signs, we can do all kinds of things to try to help people navigate that first appearance, that first experience maybe with the justice system, but having a body there to really help and encourage, it really paid off, at least in my opinion, about the merit of the program and anything else that we can do to enhance it. So any other questions, or Judge, did you? Okay. Next is the sequential intercept model mapping exercise. Phil.
Thank you, Judge.
Whatever that is.
So a lot of you here probably have received several emails from me asking to sign up for this sim mapping exercise that Bob and I have helped to coordinate with the folks from SAMHSA. Will be coming here to St. Croix County Tuesday, June 17th for a full day, Wednesday, the 18th for a half day, to kind of help us look at the intercepts. So those of us that are community partners, those of us that work in law enforcement, the jail and otherwise, and how we can continue to look at those the overlaps, I guess, that we all have. So if you would please sign up for that if you're able. If not, maybe you can appoint someone from your office. Really looking forward to it. They this is kind of a consulting work that would cost us a lot of money that we're receiving for free. So I think it can be very helpful. Bob, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that.
Just thank you, Phil, and Phil's really taken on this project, and I appreciate all of his work on it. I know in our Behavioral Health Subcommittee, CJCC Subcommittee, a lot of this work began there with that team, a really engaged and effective, I think, subcommittee of the CJCC. And I just appreciate Phil's effort in helping to bring this to fruition and look at how we can better serve criminal justice involved persons with behavioral health conditions, so that we're diverting them away from more of a punitive model. I'm not criticizing anyone. I'm just saying the system itself tends to lean towards punitive models, and we're trying to look at how we could be more supportive of those people in order to treat their behavioral health conditions rather than have them be in jail where they maybe aren't getting the kind of help that they need. I hope I didn't offend or go too far with that. So,
any questions of Phil or Bob about that particular meeting? Next, I'm going to ask our District Attorney Carl Anderson to tell us about a meeting that occurred originally, I think, in March, but I think we concluded, or the District Attorney concluded, it maybe was not properly noticed or otherwise, but by statute, every 4 years, the largest school district in the county, which in this case would be Hudson, has to coordinate a meeting of stakeholders. So schools, judges, district attorney, the department, to address truancy and to develop plans and to have those discussions. Yesterday, Hudson hosted, but I think primarily the event was coordinated by District Attorney Anderson and ADA Aaron Domro, who prosecutes truancy on behalf of the county. And before Carl makes his remarks, I will say that this is my 7th truancy meeting in my career, and it was probably the most well-attended. We had representation from law enforcement, from our municipal courts, from the department, from judges, from the DA's office, and I think every school was represented in some respect. I didn't count, but my guesstimate is 40 to 50 people assembled for that meeting. And so it really, really, in my opinion, by sheer numbers alone and participation, was a success. But I'll let the district attorney kind of share the outcomes.
Thank you, Judge. Yeah, it was, the theme of the day today seems to be collaboration, and that's exactly what this meeting yesterday was. So we kind of took advantage of the fact that we had to redo the meeting because we hadn't noticed it publicly. And we just really did a deep dive into the policy, the plan for truancy in St. Croix County, which hasn't been updated since 2008. And it was really kind of an informal discussion where we heard from every single stakeholder, voiced, what they think is working, what they think isn't working. And there are some really good takeaways. Everybody, what was clear is everybody was on the same page on the goals. It was just kind of then brainstorming on what we can do to improve our system. One of the big takeaways we had was we all didn't know what everybody else within the system was doing. We didn't at circuit court level know what was happening in municipal court. Schools would participate in municipal court, but then they wouldn't participate in circuit court, not because they didn't want to, just because that's how we've always done it. And so we pretty quickly in the meeting came up with some really good ideas on how to drastically improve how we're doing things. Especially when it comes to the circuit court, those are the most challenging cases. And we've always kind of been going in blind with kind of a bare bones referral on checked boxes on when a student wasn't going to school. And we didn't really have much of an idea how much work was going into these truancy cases prior to ever coming to circuit court. So it was just a really good meeting to hear from everybody. School resource offices, municipal courts, the schools, and we could hear what they're doing. They could hear what kind of things we can do in circuit court that they can't do in municipal court. And I think it helped really frame best practices going forward. And so we got the big picture from this meeting. It's still going to take more work to kind of fine tune the plan so we can have some consistency and so that schools can adopt these policies and that, when there's turnover, there's still framework in place in writing, which is also required by statute. So we formed a work group. Kyle Schaefer, municipal judge from Hudson, is on it, who's here. Anjali Patel from Court Counsel is on it, who's here. But we have every single group that was represented at the meeting, at least one of them on the work group that's going to actually do the drafting of the policy going forward for the full committee's approval. So I think it was an extremely good meeting. A lot of people lingered afterwards to chat to further. As the first meeting we did was by Zoom, which wasn't really that helpful for the kind of collaboration and people free to talk. It was kind of more like one or two presenters doing all the talking. So everyone being in person was also super helpful. So it was a very good and encouraging and productive meeting.
Judge Waterman.
I also want to state too, because I think we have a broader audience than just those who are sitting in this room. Truancy is not just about kids skipping school. It's much broader than that. Children who are habitually truant from school frequently have other things going on. It could be a problem inside the home. It could be parental neglect. It could be AODA issues, mental health issues. It could be problems inside the school, bullying, abuse, or other things. And it's something that is serious and needs to be taken seriously. And children who don't go to school are at higher risk for much greater problems in life. They're at higher risk for criminal activity. They're at higher risk for risky behaviors that lead to other problems. They're at higher risk for health issues. So to address it now, when it's happening immediately, getting responsible people involved in these families to find out what the root cause of the truancy is and address it before it becomes into a much bigger problem, I think does all of us a good service and serves the community well. So it's, truancy includes kids who skip school, but there's much more to it. It's much deeper than just that.
Yeah, and as Judge, I'll just echo a couple of things. First, as Carl said, the last formal policy that was drafted was in 2008. And that's when Judge Vlack and Judge Lindell and I sat down and said, we need to do something because anecdotally we were hearing these concerns about truancy and municipal courts and law enforcement. And so it was really eye-opening for me to hear collaboratively, what's being done and the responses now that many of our municipal courts have to truancy. Most schools now have school resource or law enforcement in the schools, which is really helpful. But one of the attendance folks shared something that really shocked me. Our current laws really deal with the population age 6 to 18. If you're younger than 6, there's really nothing in the statute that permits us to do something. Well, I think we're all mindful that most schools now have 4K programs. That's where education is starting at age 4. Most kids are in kindergarten by age 5, and one of the attendance officers yesterday said she has a 5-year-old, a kindergarten, who has missed 30 days of school this year as a kindergarten student. And there's really nothing that can be done because it doesn't fit within the parameters of the statute. So maybe an upshot of this work group will be to encourage legislation that looks realistically now at what our education system is, and that starts at age 4. And to help us with those early interventions because there's something going on in that home. But our ability to basically intervene and investigate is limited. So any questions about the Truancy Summit? All right, next is the St. Croix County University Alliance Legislative Meeting. I know Judge Waterman and Mr. Golly were there, so who's going to?
Thank you. So Judge Waterman and I, a couple weeks ago, had a chance to meet with Senator Staffsholt. Just some of the projects that we've worked on, and this really stems from a couple years ago, Supervisor Fiedler approached me about some opportunities to work on projects with students at UW-Madison, which I jumped on based on my background. And we've had a couple different projects. One of the things we've worked on is looking at what does sober living in this county look like, sober living facilities for justice-involved individuals, particularly women and their children. And the students looked at, they had interviewed a number of people around the table here and looked at what's going on across the country. And I think it's something a discussion that we continue to have. I think one of the things I'm encouraged by, I just talked to one of our pretrial case managers who's at a conference in the Dells this week. And apparently, and I don't know the particulars of this, but there are a couple sober living facilities getting ready to open possibly in River Falls. So I don't know any more than that, and I'm not saying that our work promoted that at all, but I think that these discussions are being had locally, regionally, across the state. And so we had an opportunity to share with the senator some of the work that we've been doing and just educate and inform about maybe some of the needs that we have here in the county. And we highlighted that one as kind of a big area. So we'll see what happens in the future with that. Judge, I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
Any questions about that project? Next, we're pleased to have Grace Schrader. Thank you.
It's confusing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Grace is with Workforce Resources and is going to share some information about that program and its really intersection with the justice system. So Grace.
Hello, everyone. Give me 1 second while I get this pulled up. You know what? We'll just go from here. Okay. Can everyone see okay? No, that's okay. No big deal. Alrighty. So, a lot of new faces. My name is Grace Schrader, and I am a career planner, or in other words, a case manager from the Transitional Jobs Program at Workforce Resource. So thank you guys for letting me be here today. I'd love to kind of chat about the program, tell you what it offers, and hopefully build some new relationships to be able to collaborate to, that's the key word, clearly, to collaborate to serve our clients as best as we can and help them in another aspect, the aspect of employment. So, a little bit of an overview of the program. So we are a person-centered program where we help people to get connected with work, and not only to just get connected with work, but to maintain and retain that employment long-term. We work with a lot of populations that struggle to enter the workforce in the first place. So that might be people who've been incarcerated, who have struggled with substance abuse, who maybe have no work history, or they're homeless, or poverty, lack of transportation, whatever that might be. We kind of come hand in hand with them and partner with them to be able to identify any of those barriers or areas of needs and address those and overcome those with them to be able to get them into the workforce and help them keep that job. So just some ways that we can help. I'll kind of go over the different phases of the program. So the program after enrollment, the first phase is our orientation phase. After that, we go into what's called our ongoing orientation phase, and then we go to employment, which is obviously our end goal in retaining that employment. So in that orientation phase, that very first phase, it's very hands-on. So we're partnering with that participant by meeting with them. I mean, it's typically once or twice a week, sometimes even more depending on the need. So very hands-on to first and foremost identify any areas of need or any barriers they might be facing that are getting in the way from their ability to enter the workforce. And then we establish goals and create step-by-step plans to achieve these goals, and making action plans of how am I going to achieve these, how am I going to overcome my barriers, and we work with them hand in hand to do that. We also kind of create the basics of what you would need to be able to put yourself in the job market. So creating a resume with them. If they already have a resume, we look over it, give them some advice, make some tweaks together. Otherwise, cover letters, brainstorming references for them. Whatever they might need to be able to get them to even be able to begin looking for a job and applying for jobs, we help with that. Then in the ongoing orientation phase, that's after this first orientation phase, that is basically that period of time between all the prep work and actually working. So applying for jobs, searching for jobs, and meeting with them to hold our participants accountable to applying for these positions and following up with the applications submitted, and really understanding what it means to truly be on the job search and work in that manner. And then the last phase is the employment phase of the program. So our biggest goal is not only to connect participants with employers and with work, but also to retain that employment. So what we do is we hold them accountable. We're touching base with them once a week to see, hey, how's work going? Are you attending work? Is there anything that you need to help make you more successful in your job? But we also build partnerships with their employers. So we're in communication with the employers, specifically after their first and 30th day, but also with some employers, it's throughout the entire time of them working, just to say, hey, how are things going? Is there anything that I need to address with your employee? How can I help you by partnering with this employee to make your workplace a better place? So it's really like full circle there. We're not only helping people enter into the workforce and keep that employment, but also to help these employers have good employees. We can help throughout the entirety of the program by providing different support services. So there's a lot of different things that we can do, and that's kind of the biggest point of like, why would anyone be interested in even joining this program aside from getting connected from work, getting connected to work, sorry. So biggest barrier for a lot of people is going to be transportation. We can provide gas cards if they can't afford gas money. We can do bus passes. I know in this area, I don't think there's buses, but out in Eau Claire, we have the program as well. So being able to provide bus passes for them, Lyft or taxi vouchers, ride services, basically setting up ways for them to have transportation. So that no longer is a barrier. Same with like cell phones. We can help provide cell phones or cell phone plans for them to be able to communicate with future employers, apply for jobs, communicate with us as well as their case managers. And then oftentimes people don't even have clothes to wear to an interview or the hygiene products they might need to be able to look presentable at an interview. So we can help provide those things as well as, once they do start working, work clothes, work shoes, work boots. Some people might need non-slip shoes, steel-toed boots, whatever that might be. We can provide that and we can help them out with that. There's a lot of different ways that we can help, and it looks different for each and every participant of the program. So it's kind of addressing the individualized needs per the participant. So a little bit of the program eligibility. If you guys want to look, I don't know if you can see it or read it, but I'll read it out to you anyways. So it's for residents of the state of Wisconsin. Obviously, we're on a border town, so it makes it a little tricky, but they have to live in Wisconsin. If they were planning on working in Minnesota, that's fine, as long as they're a resident of Wisconsin. So we serve the population of individuals ages 18 to 64. The biggest factors, so if you look at the 3 columns right there, those are the 3 that everybody of all ages need to meet. So they must have been unemployed for 4 or more consecutive weeks. So obviously we are an employment program, so we help them get connected. They have to have a limited income. I believe it's being under the 150th percentile of the federal poverty limit, and that's something that our team looks into once we get a referral. So that's not something anybody has to worry about. Same with the unemployment insurance. They cannot be eligible to receive unemployment insurance, and that's something, again, that we look into. So ages 24 and a half or older, they must have a child. So one of our biggest goals is also to help restore families and to work with them in that. And the biggest factor oftentimes is lack of employment. So ages 25 and older do have to have a child, and then they have to have one of the following. So either a child support order, a felony or misdemeanor on their criminal record, or a court-ordered child reunification plan. Just one of those 3. Otherwise, if they're in between the ages 18 and 24 and a half and they don't have a child, all they need to meet is one of those 3 big columns, like on the left-hand side. So unemployment, income restrictions, and unable to receive unemployment benefits. If they are in that younger age, that 18 to 25, and they do have a child, they are required to meet what we call like the adult requirements, even though they're all adults. But so they have to have either a child support order, felony or misdemeanor on the record, or a court-ordered child reunification plan. So big part of what we do also is we love partnering with different departments and agencies and people across the community. And I do believe that there's a lot of ways in which the Transitional Jobs Program could be beneficial to all the clients that you guys serve as well. So here's my contact information. I do have business cards that I'll probably pop on the table as well. So if anyone wants to grab one, you absolutely can either, send people my way. You can give them my info. Otherwise, you can reach out to me with more questions that you might have. I did print off some little small flyers as well if anybody wants to hang one up in any spaces to just kind of make the program known and so that more people can benefit from it. And that's all I have for you guys. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions of Grace? I will tell you that I know they've partnered with our child support agency. And for those of you not aware, 2 out of every 3 Tuesday mornings, we now have child support enforcement. And staff from Grace's office have attended some of those hearings where we can put them in direct contact. And it's really been a very valuable resource for the courts. I should have had you yesterday. I had a fellow who said he hasn't worked since 2018, is able-bodied and has 2 children. So
Yeah.
maybe he'll make his referral from jail, but anyway.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or comments of Grace? Thank you very much. Very informative.
Thank you.
Next are subcommittee reports. Executive, there is no report as, again, we don't meet unless necessary. We send out the agendas, but that body is obviously well and functioning. Criminal Justice, Judge Waterman.
Nothing to add. You heard about the Navigator project. It's Shelby's project, but she's running it through our subcommittee, so we have nothing else to add.
And I will say that is probably one of the more active subcommittees that we have in terms of the work that Judge Waterman and that group is doing, and what I see is a great deal of value that they're adding to the system. Treatment Court Judge Nordstrand is not here. Kate kind of updated us. Their next meeting is on July 2nd. DV Court Judge Vlack is not here. Phil, any updates?
No updates, just it will be Judge Vlack's last meeting on Wednesday, July 30th at 11:30. So we can come out and acknowledge Judge for everything he's done.
Thank you. Child Welfare, Juvenile Justice, Anjali, any updates?
Just one. I think pretty much everything else has been discussed previously, but we did finalize the delinquency and CHIPS informational packets. Those are at the printers and should be delivered within the next couple weeks here, so we can start getting those out to parents and kids in those cases. And our next meeting is May 29th in room 2100.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Behavioral Health, Bob.
Thank you, Judge. Our last meeting was held on March 24th, and our next meeting will be on June 2nd at the Services Center. I wasn't able to attend our last meeting. I wonder if Shar could give a brief update on that. Thank you.
Most of what we had talked about has been covered today with a bunch of the grants. One of the things, Eiley Peterson and Natasha Ward were there talking about their pilot program. They were finally able to get their SUD program up and running, so they have a pilot program that is 6 hours a week and currently in the middle of the first group, so more to come on their program. Very exciting to have treatment programming on that side of the county. And the only thing we probably didn't cover is there's a grant, another grant that we're applying for. It's not a very big grant, $75,000, but hopefully will have a big impact. Looking to try to put a mental health therapist in the jail 2 days a week, which would focus on those who are seriously mentally ill. So I will be applying for that on Monday, I believe. And at the meeting, Pete Van Dusarts had announced his retirement. So after many, many years of providing services within the county, he is going to be riding his motorcycle. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of any of the subcommittees? Thank you very much. Our next meeting, folks, is on July 10th. This was an ambitious agenda. I know we're running a little bit late, but I really think there are a lot of takeaways, if nothing else. The word collaboration is front and center and part of our vocabulary. So with that said, any other announcements or information anyone would like to share? We are adjourned. Thank you.